Hello guys, in this video I'm going to go over my trade plan for Bitcoin for the next couple of months, going over my targets, entries and invalidations. A lot of this is going to be following the fractal from the previous midterm year during the 2022 bear market. I posted a lot of that on X recently, and since the months began it's actually following my plan perfectly so far. So let's scroll back to that fractal from 2022 I've been referring to. And as you can see here, price found a low in June, just like we did just now. We found a low at the very, very back end of June, and then price went on a relief rally for 58 days. Before then, met with just downside continuation until the true bear market bottom was found in November in Q4. And this sort of does follow the 4-year cycle thesis, because obviously the previous bull market found the high in Q4, and then obviously then went on a 12-month bear market. And I'm looking at price following sort of the same path. We topped in October last year, and if this fractal is going to play out, then it's sort of we're going to be looking at a potential bottom in Q4 of this year. But the main importance for this, for me, is trying to capitalize on, Bitcoin potentially going on a similar run and following a similar path to this previous midterm year, the previous bear market in 2022. So, I have been talking about this for a short while. I've been posting posting charts and ideas on X, before this actually happened. And since the months began, it is following it quite well. I did mention it a few times, around 59k just below. So, if you did listen to that, you could potentially have, got yourself some long entries, around here. And where I'm looking to target, I think, last time this happened, we went on about a 40 odd percent upside rally. I don't think, obviously, we're going to see it be as aggressive this time. But in terms of price, it went on about a 7.5k rally. So if we're going to be looking at price rather than percentage, 7.5k is probably going to take us between the value area low and this point of control. And I mean, I'm not saying it can't go higher than that. It certainly can, but just basing this off the previous fractal, that is what I'm currently going off. And I don't think, as you can see here, it's we're sort of just going up in a straight line. I don't think it's going to be as simple as we've put in this low here, then we're just sort of going to go like this to our target and come back down. I don't think that is going to be the case. I think we could come up to the value area low and then perhaps come back down, and then even close the monthly red. And I think we've done that in 2022. We ended up closing the month red, despite pricing lots of upside during that time, and then going for that point of control before the top, and then we start trading back down to find new lows. I've done a video, my previous video was based on new lows, so I won't mention it as much in this one. If you want to find out where I think where Bitcoin's going to find a true bottom, watch my previous video for that one. And if I was going to look for longs, I probably wouldn't look for longs here. That's I'd rather wait for higher confluence. If you're intraday trading or trading on a really lower time frame, sure, you'll probably find yourself some longs, but that's not how I tend to find my setups. I would generally just hold the longs I'm holding now. So my targets would be, well, it'd be simple. It'd be these two levels here. Simple. These are the support levels. I think 58.9k probably holds a bit more weight to it. So I think if I can get closer, if we are going to come up to the value area low, then come back down. I mean, you could look to pull the trigger there, but personally, I'd rather wait for that level to then flip long again. Again, this is if you're trading a really lower time frame, this is probably going to be different for you, but. I'm looking at something I can, a long I can go in with size with my risk managed well, and and invalidations, because it's simple. Lower time frame acceptance below there, then you just simply cut, and that whole fractal that I've been going on about will just simply just get probably invalidated. But if you think we're going to come back down to that 60.8k level, which is a respectable level, and that's going to be met with upside, then sure, put an entry level here, and then save some part of that entry, for potential further drop to 58.9k, and then you have your average somewhere in the middle. That's a good way to get exposure to a long position, but then also have your entry lower if the market does tend to go even lower, rather than just going all in there. Then price does come back down here, and you're there thinking, I should have just waited to 58.9k. But if you're worried it's just going to do this, then sure, add a limit order there. Then my target is going to be somewhere around this point of control. So that's where I fully TP. You want to keep an eye on this value area low as well, because we could just come straight up and reject this whole reclaim of this value area, and then come back down. But I'm going to be looking at the point of control. It's currently sitting around 66.8k. So again, if I'm looking now at a long position, I'm going to do what I said about averaging in with those two levels. My entry is probably going to be somewhere there in the middle, and then I'm going to have my TP target around the point of control. Again, you can flip long again. If price does come back up here, then you do start getting some lower time frame acceptance, or some clean successful retest of it. And then I'll be looking at the value area high as a potential target. But I think that would just be a whole new trade. And then I'd probably just have my stops somewhere just below that previous low there, and then you've got yourself a 3R trade there. And for Bitcoin going in with size, that is that's going to be a nice trade. It's going to pay you very well. So yeah, this is going to be my plan for the next couple of months, at least till the end of August, start of September. That's when I'm going to become a bit more cautious again when it comes to longs. So yeah, hopefully you enjoyed this video, and hopefully you can catch some longs. Maybe you already caught some of the longs from me posting them in Telegram and X, and you're going to be up quite nice right now. But if you're not, then just follow my trade setups that I have here, and hopefully if we do follow the 2022 fractal, then it's going to pay us quite well. Thank you.